Hey guys and girls, we're back on the S-10 today. Everything's in. I got some of the wiring completed and ran to the switches. Some of it was off camera. It was a little crowded in there. Didn't want the film quality to be terrible. But today we're going to cut into this core support a little bit so that we can get the radiator forward. I chose not to move the motor back any farther or do any weird stuff with that because my intention is to use an electric water pump on this. So going to a shorter style water pump isn't going to give me any good results, because when I go to that electric water pump, it's going to come back forward about the same distance as that long water pump is. So we're going to cut a little bit of this core support out so that I can push the radiator forward up to where the evaporator used to be. I apologize, condenser used to be, because I'm not running any of that air conditioning stuff anymore. So it's going to bring the radiator forward about 4 inches and get some film doing that and getting her done up. Shifter should be here in the next couple days. We'll be able to get that thing put in and be hitting the streets with this thing, making some noise. So I hope you guys stay along for the ride. Hope you watch this one to the end. Thank you. All right, just a recap. So I just cut the top of the core support out all the way down so that this radiator can lay up. That's temporary. I'm going to build a clamshell that goes over and holds it with a stock rubber isolator. I just brought her down. I'm going to bring this over a little bit more, but nothing's hitting the front of the radiator. Clean pass all the way down. But that gives me plenty of space here for whatever I want to do in the future. The electric water pump's going to come out to about my fingernail there. But last thing I got to do is get a radiator hose that fits it a little bit better, has a little bit sharper bend in it. I had it running last night, so it's full of water and everything else. It's starting to self-learn. I had it up to temperature. The last thing I got to do is take a cable and go from my alternator to my positive lug on my starter so that it will charge the battery. I'm gonna get rid of this nest, and then I've got to hook up this relay, these wires for this relay, and take those to my electric fans on my radiator. We're pulling that out. Mechanical pump's going away. And then I'm going to cut these holes off of my motor mounts and use these holes. You got to cut them, but that's going to drop my engine by about 1 inch. And then I'm going to see, I was telling you guys about these S-10 mounts. You've got adjustment here, and then I've got adjustment here. So I'm going to put a sleeve here and then just tighten these, and that's what pushes my engine back or forward. But enough rambling. We're going to get into it today. We get some work done, get this thing closer to driving. Fuel bracket came in, it's on. Fuel line or throttle cable is ready. And then I just use, this is a great tip for you guys doing this at home. I'll use these pliers to mock up this location, because this is your throttle cable holder. So I'll use these pliers to mock this up instead of tightening this and loosening it 12 times, because it uses nylocks. I just want to tighten those one time. So I'll get them where I want them with my vice grips, tighten them one time. And as long as you have 100% throttle with your pedal, which I do, that's where you want it. So we'll tighten these down, get rid of these vice grips, get rid of some wires. We're gonna lower the engine about 1 inch, and then we're gonna throw on a transmission mount. Bear with me. Okay, which I believe is right here. It's an ICT billet, solid tranny mount. Tranny side's this side, mount side is this side. We're gonna throw that guy on to match the solid mounts on the motor. So come along with me, we're gonna do some wrenching. Let's get after it. Well, this side you guys can see a little bit better what's going on. So this side we've got a little bit of extra to do. So we're gonna pull this engine mount off. And this engine was equipped with a mechanical fuel pump, which is this guy right here. We're gonna take that off because I hooked up the original fuel pump for this truck to the Sniper. So we no longer need that. That's annoying, isn't it? Sorry about that. Now I should be able to just grab a hold of this big old monster pipe sticking off here and lift her up. Yes, sir. More, less, more. Okay. Oop. Noises. Okay. Not too worried about it. I'm gonna go over here and shorten this guy, and I'll come back when we're ready to put her on. Alright. Go ahead and pop this off so that it's not in the way. You guys hang around long enough, we'll do a video putting one of these on. I got a secret that not a lot of guys will show you. But there's a hole in the block in the front of the motor, at least on a Chevrolet, that you can put one of these long bolts in, and it'll actually hold your fuel pump rod out the way for putting one of these mechanical fuel pumps on. Some people don't know about it, and some people don't tell you about it. And it makes it very difficult to put one of these on if you don't know about it. Come on, girl. Come on. Give it to me. Now, I'll take this plate off eventually. Well, before I turn it on the next time, I'm gonna have to pull that plate, and I'll take the fuel pump rod out and put a block off plate and a new gasket on there. And that way I ain't got oil trying to run out of her. Come on. Grab one. Or two. There we go. Forward. This one's going to be a little bit more of a mess, but I think we can do it. Get my bolt started. My lug nut spacer. Oh, it fits like a dream. Heck yeah, buddy. Okay. Bolt started in the spacer. I should be able to lift and then get this bolt started. Just like that. There it is. Get the rest of the way through there. Come on. Come on, girl. Get started. That's good enough for me. I need to try and get this guy to line up. Hopefully he does. I need to let down on that jack. I think I'm still holding her up a little bit. Bring her down. Bring her over a little bit. Yeah, with a lot of these adjustments, I'm gonna have to go back to the transmission. There we go. She went right where she was supposed to go. But with these adjustments, I'm gonna have to go to the transmission and line all this out and make sure this is still straight. Let's see. Are you going now? There she went, all the way in. Washers and a brand new nylock. I recommend using these nylocks, but you don't want to install them and then take them back off 2 or 3 times. You kind of want it to be a one and done. That's why I had them other junk bolts in there with no nuts or nothing on them. With these nylocks in, that nylon ring in there locks that nut down so that it's less likely to come back out. Now, if you put a bunch of heat into a nylock, it'll burn that nylon out of there and it'll come back off like a regular nut, but it's not in a high heat area. I like them. Let's go ahead and, okay, I've got a ratchet. Why am I doing this the antique way? Stupid. Her back up. Still in reverse, dog. Put her in drive. Alright, this video is jumping around a little bit more than I'd like, but I'm trying to film this thing solo. So we got all the ground wires and everything connected over there. I connected the alternator to the starter, and my cab wires are connected now. So I have power to the cab, I have headlights, brake lights, turn signals, everything that I had factory. All of these wires are trash. I'm going to get rid of all of them. I don't care about keyed ignition anymore. For the starter, because I've got it on my push button. It's going to work great. So I'm going to get rid of every single one of these off the side of this. I'm going to take the brake booster off. I'm going to tighten this for the last time. I like where it's at, and then we're going to move forward with that. I do also have to put this back into my steering column. Some of you guys do know what it is, some of you don't. But for these headers, steering column goes through the headers. When you take your steering column apart, this falls out. Please make sure you pick that back up. Keeps everything tight and right in there. Without this, it's your 3 lanes at 75 miles an hour, if you know what I'm saying. So I got to take it back apart and put this back in. I didn't know how many times I was going to take it apart the last time, so don't let me forget where that's at, please. All right, let's get after it. Master has 4 bolts on the inside of the firewall. I'm going to jump in there. I'm going to snatch them 4 bolts out. 4 nuts, sorry. And then I believe this is a 1/2 inch down here on the steering shaft. not a 1/2 inch. It is small. Let's try a 7/16. Close enough. So, when you're taking your steering shaft out, it is extremely important that you do not let the steering wheel take off spinning on you. I believe it's called a clock spring or a clocking spring. I don't know, they got some weird terminology for it. There's a coil wire thing in there, right? If you take off spinning that thing like you on Wheel of Fortune, you're gonna break it. And if you break that, you're gonna lose connection to a few things in your steering wheel. I believe the airbag, electronics, maybe the horn. I don't know. What I'm saying is it's bad, don't do that. So on mine, I just run the I run the seat belt through it. And that way, now that I've got this disconnected, I can pull this shaft, maybe, out. And I ain't gotta worry about that steering wheel taking off at 500 miles an hour and spinning all over the place. Come on, Bess. Come on, Bess. Thank you. Okay. So, I don't know if you guys can see, it's got kind of two radiuses and 2 flat spots. You kind of want to keep this where it's at. You don't want to spin it because the bolt goes in from the top. So you got to take this guy, and there is a slot on the shaft that's inside the truck still. I'd grab you and move you, but you can't see much in here. You're going to put the bubble out and the tabs on the actual shaft. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to grab my shaft. Nothing is spun. And get her started back on there, hopefully. And now go through the process of arguing and trying not to curse. And put her back together. I about cut my finger off. Only 10 seconds into this. It's looking great. Okay. I believe it's captured it enough. Yep, it stayed in. So now we're just gonna feed her on. Go back to where she was. It's also a good idea for those of you doing this on an older truck. Go ahead and grease her. Just a little bit of grease. Run it on there. Make sure everything's got some lubrication on it. You don't want this getting stuck. They will get stuck. You don't want it stuck. Also, it wouldn't hurt to put some thread lock on this. Mine's coming back off within the next week anyways. Got some more crap to do around it. So, I'm just putting her back in. But I don't have to take that shaft back out. I've got to take the steering box out of this truck. I've got a much better looking one on one of the other 2 S-10s sitting over chunder that way. So I'm gonna put a better steering box on it because this one looks really leaky and wet and the other one don't. So I'm gonna use the other one. Now that we got that done, and I haven't forgot about it, which is great because I usually do, we're going to this. But I'm gonna leave you guys off because I do not have enough room in this tiny truck to fit in with the camera. But on these boosters, sorry, you got your 2 bolts here. Directly behind that is a flange on the firewall that has 4 bolts, or at least on a GM. I'm gonna go take those nuts out. I keep saying bolts. I'm gonna take those nuts out of this. It's gonna come forward, and then we're gonna put this bad dog in it. Go for hours talking about why I'm using it. Short and simple. Small piston means I don't have to use a booster to have higher brake pressure. The booster on most cars, if you have a large piston, assists in giving you more brake pressure. Smaller piston, don't need this, which means this is closer to here, which means it's not on fire. All right, well, after way too many words I shouldn't have used, a big hammer and some tender love. I've got this beast out and here she is. Here's the 4 bolts that go into your firewall. Yeah, right under is where this rod lives. She don't want to come out, but I needed her to, so, you know, big hammer. So I got it out. So the goal is to be able to use this rod connected back to my brake pedal. Get rid of all this junk grinder and retain some of this rod to push in the back of this master. So what I'm going to do is, once I get everything back on the pedal, hold this, hold it, just hold it, just hang on to that, don't drop that. Once I get in here where I can put this back on the pedal, because I want this on the pedal first, what I need to do is check my range of motion. I don't want this thing at a big steep angle doing this. It's going to bind up in my master. I want a straight up forward and back motion, no arches, because if it runs on a radius, it's going to try and bind up at some point. You want the straightest line of motion possible pushing on the back of that master. Now, it came with a plug, but the way I've done this before, it's probably frowned upon by some of you purists or safety enthusiasts, which I'm neither, is I'll put a return spring on the brake pedal. And I usually leave at least 1/8 of an inch between the tip of this rod and the inside of that master. And what that allows is fluid return. There's a lot of guys out there that'll make this thing right up against that master. And with any bitty swelling or distortion in the firewall or anything that happens, that piston doesn't come all the way back, and you basically, the fluid can't return from the system, locks up. You get brakes sticking, all kinds of bad stuff. Don't do that. So I'll use a return spring so that way my switch for my brake pedal, my brake lights will get pushed with the spring. There'll be that little teeny gap and everything's gonna work just fine. And the longer you can keep this, I always buy a master that has a pocket in here. Some of them just have a little dimple. You can't do it the way I'm explaining with that little dimple. It'll fall down, it'll get stuck here, big problems, you won't have any brakes. Or you can push this little snap ring, just don't do it. Just don't do it. So if you do it my way, don't do what I do, please. And if you do, you didn't hear it from me. But I'm gonna go forward and continue destroying this so that I can get it down to what I want, which is, yeah, see, that's staked in. It's been a while since I've done this, but you know what doesn't care about being staked in? Grinder. Be right back. All right, this is the end of that ball. Can you guys see it? Sorry for knocking you around. Look at this nice smooth portion on it here. This is the side that goes to your brake pedal. Focus, focus. This little clip that holds that, there's a bolt that goes through it. That's what connects this to your brake pedal. All right. Okay, the wrong way is the right way and a wrong way to use the kit that I got. I want this radius to sit in this cup, right like that. And that'll give me my little play zone and stay centered. It'll center itself. It'll be down inside of that bore. Now, what you don't want to do is just send this guy home in here because it's got an O-ring on it. So if you just bang that dude home, good luck getting it back out. So what I'm going to do is measure when the brake pedal is completely up in its regular position. I'm going to measure how far this protrudes or is recessed from the firewall. Okay? That measurement then gives me more math. So this is going to protrude or recess. This flange is going to sit flat against the firewall. So then I can take a measurement from this flange to the inner right here, okay? I'm gonna measure this and how deep this pocket is. I'm gonna write all this down, and then I'm gonna come back to it and see if I need to make this longer or shorter, because the pocket is deeper than this. So maybe I need to pack something down in there, whatever. Long-winded again. I need to stop doing it. So we're gonna start putting stuff together. This is gonna go in. I'll catch you back on this side when it's attached. All right. Now that I'm done with that fiasco, here's what we have. 1 inch up is my smoothest travel. Checked it out. Right now I've got the pedal wired up so that my brake lights aren't on, wasting my battery. I'm too lazy to unhook the battery, so yeah. Anyways, this big dog is gonna go right like this, right up against the firewall. Way out of the way of all this. I can run my brake lines all the way over here. It keeps everything away from the headers. With the old setup, she was right here, getting baked. It used to have ABS on it. I got rid of all that. The ABS was all over the runners. But what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go grab a sheet of steel that I got and make me a little panel to go over here, cover up all these holes. And that steel's only, I forget how thin it is, but it's paper basically, right? It's a couple grades over aluminum foil. I'll catch you guys back when we start throwing this thing on here. Well guys, I'm sorry about the gap in the footage, but I've got this here brake bleeder set up, hooked up. I just jabbed the little nipples into the outlets on your master, and I'm just pumping away. We're looking to see these full of fluid with no bubbles. And we want to make sure that we're not sucking air back through them. Which I'm having a hard time with that one hose, but all right, we're gonna give her a couple pumps, and you shouldn't see any air bubbles go back for. This one should go in here and not come back. Looks like it worked. I'm going to review the footage since I can't see this from inside the truck. As long as we look good, we're going to move on with building a bunch of lines, which is my favorite part. No, it's not. Well, all right. That was a fun one while it lasted. Running out of daylight for today. This is going to be the last section of this video. We got all the brakes roughed in. We got a whole bunch of work left to do on that, but I got some plugs I'm going to put in these so that I don't lose my bleed and I don't lose all my fluid. I'm going to pull these out, plug them. We've got everything buttoned up with wiring except for removing all of this junk, which I don't know if I'm going to do on camera or not. I'm just going to pull this side of this bulkhead off, junk all of it. The only thing I want to keep is this right here, because this is my headlights and stuff. Hopefully you can see that in the camera. And I need that radiator hose. other than that, we are completely starting, running, ready to go. This is the last step of the puzzle to get us out. And yes, it wiggles. I put a small brace on the back. It ain't enough. So I'm gonna get some heavier steel and fix this wobbliness. But hope you guys enjoyed the ride. If you did, please like, share, subscribe, hit the bell. Catch me on the next one where we get the brakes finished up. My shifter should be here any day. So we're gonna throw a shifter in there, throw my old shift knob and all that crap back on there from the original. And we're gonna take this thing for a drive. It's full of coolant and everything else we need. Full tank of gas. So should be a fun one on the next one. So please hang in there with me. Like I said, if you hang in through the awkward phase of me getting used to talking to the camera and carrying you guys around, I hope we can have some serious fun in the future of doing a lot more of these. Thank you guys.